Welcome. Our lesson today is percent word problems, and we're going to focus on finding the part. And these are the guided notes. If you did not have an opportunity to print this, please have your notebook or a sheet of paper ready to take notes and do this with me. Next week, we're going to work with many real-life applications of percentages. Today, we'll review what we used in the past in order to prepare. First, we need to recall how to convert a given percent into a decimal. We can use one of two ways. We can divide the percent number given by 100, or we can use a shortcut. We scoop the decimal 2 places to the left. That's what dividing by 100 does. It moves the decimal 2 place values back. So let's practice this. We're going to start with 18. And first of all, I need to get rid of the percent, and I'm just going to use 18. I'm going to go ahead and show the shortcut method. You notice it says to scoop the decimal back. Well, there's not a decimal right now. And in any whole number, there's always a decimal hidden, so to speak, at the end. And we don't have to write all of our whole numbers with decimals. That'd kind of be a pain. So we choose not to, but it's there. And so since we need it, we need to place it behind the number. Now we're going to scoop 1, 2 scoops, or 2 place values to the left. And now we've moved our decimal here. So our new number is 1800ths. And we always like to put a 0 just to make sure we recognize that that decimal is there. So we're going to call that a placement 0. Let's try the next number. Again, we start by getting rid of the percent. And this time, we do have a decimal. This is 7 5/10. So we don't have to draw one in at the end. It's already there for us. And we're going to scoop back 1 place value to the left, 2 place values. And that's where our new decimal is. You're going to notice there's an empty loop, so we're going to fill that in with a 0. So it is 0.075, or 75 thousandths. But again, we want to put this placement 0. I'd like you to try the next two on your own. So pause the video and then start it again to see the answers. All right, in our first example, we had to put a 0 in the empty loop and a placement 0. So this is 600. 6% equals 600ths. It's decimal form. And this next example, you notice I didn't necessarily put the 0 behind because we don't need it. This is 1 and 2/10, or if I did put it there, it'd be 1 and 20 hundredths, which is equivalent, but we don't really need it. You're also going to notice we didn't have to use a placement 0 because this one already had something in the ones column. So let's move on. We're going to use an equation that's very similar to kx equals y. We're going to change the variables so that they pertain to the meaning of what we're working on in this lesson. And so here's what we mean by that. We see R, and that stands for rate. And by that we mean the percent. And then T is the total amount that we're going to be given. And P is the part. So pause the video and take notes or write this down on the paper. When we work with word problems, we need to identify what we are being asked to find. Today we'll focus on problems that ask us to find the part. We also need to identify what we know. In this case, the rate, the percent, and the total. We will convert the percent rate into a decimal. Finally, we need to make sure that we answer the question and that our answer is reasonable. So let's move on to the next page. The Football Booster Club sold hot dogs to raise money for the team. 25% of the hot dogs had mustard on them. If they sold 44 hot dogs, how many had mustard on them? So we're being asked to find the part. So we're going to look at this and we're going to highlight that amount, okay? So that question. So this is what we're trying to answer. So at the very end, we need to make sure that we answer that. We also have been given a percent or a rate. So we're going to highlight or underline that. And then finally, we also have been given the total. So we have the part, we have the rate, and we have the total. So we're going to start by filling in this equation. We're going to fill in what variables we can. So the rate that we're given is 25%. So we're going to write 25%. And side by side means multiply. So we're going to multiply the total. In this case, it is 44. And then that's going to equal the part. Well, we don't know the part. That's the part that we don't know. Now, if you recall, we said that we needed to change the percent into a decimal. So we are going to take this 25%, 25%. If you recall from the front, we get rid of the percent symbol, and we're going to scoop the decimal back 2 places. So what we're now working with is 25 hundredths times 44, and that's going to give us the part that we're looking for. So pause the video and do that calculation. The answer is 11, and that equals part. So now let's see if that's a reasonable answer. How many hot dogs had mustard on them? And this is part. There were a total of 44. So yes, 11 would be part out of 44. So that is a reasonable answer. So we want to answer the question, and we're going to say 11 hot dogs had mustard on them. Now we've answered the question. Let's go on to the next. Ariana noticed 65% of the snowmen she saw were wearing hats. If she saw 20 snowmen, how many were wearing hats? Well, that's just mean to have a snowman question right now when we're all waiting for summer and the sunshine. But let's continue. So first of all, we want to highlight the important information. Let's figure out what we are being asked to find. We want to know how many snowmen were wearing hats. And then we've been given a percentage rate, which is right there. 65% of them were wearing hats. And then finally, the total is 20 snowmen. She saw 20 snowmen altogether. So let's try to put this together. We're going to start with our, let's go back to the pen. Let's erase that real quickly. We have our R rate times the total equals the part. And we know right now that the rate is 65%. And now we need the total, which is 20 total snowmen. And that should give us the part that we don't know. So we're going to leave it a variable. When we don't know something in math, we usually represent it with a variable. So now we have to take our rate and turn it into a decimal. We're going to scoop the decimal 2 places to the left. If I said to the right last time, it's the left. And we are now going to multiply 0.65 or 65 hundredths times 20. So pause and please do that. And that answer should be 13. So once again, let's check for the reasonableness of our answer. Our question was how many snowmen were wearing hats? There were a total of 20, so yes, 13 is part out of 20. So we can write 13 snowmen were wearing hats. Apparently I'm having trouble spelling snowmen. So, let's look at our final question. 60 people were at the beach. 85 were wearing sunglasses. How many people were wearing sunglasses? Oh, I like this question so much better. It mentions the sun. So I'd like you to pause the video, try this on your own, and then when you unpause, check back and make corrections to your answer if needed. So one thing I want to point out is sometimes they put numbers in word form. So we just have to be aware of that. So there's a total of 60 people. We had the rate as 85% and the part we don't know. So if we followed all these steps, we came up with 51, and sure enough, 51 is part out of 60. So let's keep that visual, being at the beach with sunglasses on. Have a great day. Take care. Please move on to the practice set now.